Welcome to Objects of Desire,
the podcast in which we talk about the things that mean the most to us.
or tell us who we are, where we came from, or where we're heading. I'm Naz Nazawa.
And I'm Tony Freund.
Every episode, we invite a guest to share the stories behind their one special thing, valued not for its price tag, but for its beauty, craftsmanship, quirkiness, and especially for the ways it connects them to the world.
And today, we're joined by the costume designer and image consultant Molly Rogers, whose work you know from The Devil Wears Prada, Ugly Betty, The Hunger Games' MockingJay, Sex and the City, as well as And Just Like That.
Today, she will tell us all about a silk dress purchased for Sex and the City's Carrie Bradshaw.
We're so delighted to have Molly with us today to discuss her object of desire. All right, here we go, Naz. Another episode of Object of Desire.
Yes, I'm so excited.
Well, we have a very special guest. Unfortunately, not here, but since we're actually not in our audience's living rooms, it's okay that we're not all in the same living room here.
Listen, at least we get a new backdrop with the fabulous Molly Rogers. Hi.
Hello, Molly Rogers.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. This is exciting.
We're thrilled. So, we are talking about the power of objects to entice us, seduce us. We're really excited to hear about your fashion object that you want to share with us today.
I have certainly been fortunate enough to be on iconic fashion projects and in New York, and also they went to Paris or this place or that place. So I really have been very fortunate, and I have not been on 20 years of Law and Order or anything like that. So I'm very humbled and happy that I got to do Sex and the City and Just Like That and Ugly Betty and the first Devil Wears Prada, all with my dear friend Patricia Field, who's a serious New Yorker. I'm from North Carolina, so I'm a transplant in the 80s, which was a great time to be there sure.
We still love you as a New Yorker. You're welcome. You're welcome here.
Yeah. I just feel really, like I said, very fortunate that I've been on like big fashion moments on television and film. It's really, I feel like my eyes have definitely lasered in over the years.
Well, isn't that the thing about all of us who do things? At first we're doing it, sort of faking our way, feeling our way, and all of a sudden, just from the doing of it, we are experts.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about your object, and then we want to talk about your career, because it, as you say, has been remarkable. You've been, to be a costume designer in television and film sounds like an amazingly cool job, but you have actually worked on projects where fashion was the main character, to a certain extent on like all of those shows.
Yes. Well, on a regular, maybe you could call it obsessive level, check first dibs and in the usually clothing area. And I needed a dress for Sarah Jessica. I think it's season 3, 2 or 3 in And Just Like That. And we were going to be filming a classic Carrie crossing a cobblestone street, which I think fans of Sex and the City or that And Just Like That knows that that's kind of like a coffee shop scene. They're usually very iconic because, for number one, you're outside, so you've got all the fans on the street and all the paparazzi, I guess. So it's going to be exposed. So I wasn't really seeing anything in the stores in Manhattan that I hadn't seen before. And I was feeling a little, my selection was kind of feeling picked over. So I got on first dibs and I found this unusually shaped dress, Dolce & Gabbana. And it was such a beautiful champagne color, which Sarah Jessica, as Carrie, loves champagne and oyster and those kind of colors. And they do really, really well on a wet down New York City street, an exterior with street lamps. And it just kind of jumped out like the shape. We started calling it the egg. When is the egg coming? And I had several corsets and bustiers from Simone Rocha in Paris that you could lay over top of things. And I didn't feel like I had gotten enough mileage out of one of the pieces from her. And I knew that that cage, egg, flat, eggshell oyster frame of dress would handle that corset. So, was a really good combination, I thought. And then I presented it to her in a fitting, and she was game. In the beginning, in the early part of the fitting, we were like, well, what is going to, what little jacket or little shawl, not a shawl, I hate that word. Sounds elderly. Some throw is going to look sexy and gorgeous over your shoulders because it was a bit of a nippy night. And what is the egg going to be able to handle? Anything's going to flatten it. So knowing how we like to twist things and how everyone's fittings are so collaborative, and I have a good idea, I brought you the egg, and then you have a good idea for a little throw. And she was like, go get me a screwed up sweater from some thrift store or something, a nubby wreck of a sweater. And that'll be the twist that we do to this standing, beautiful little oyster shell coming across the street.
It's so
And
Carrie.
I think she tied it in the back maybe, or buttoned it in the back, and it ended up being Margiela, but it didn't have to be. There was a 99-cent sweater in the room that ran neck and neck with the Margiela for a while, but the Margiela won out, I think, because of the length, and the sleeves were really long, and so it was that messy New York girl element coming across. I really liked it. I thought it turned out really great.
No, I remember that scene, and I remember this whole outfit because I mean, I'm trying to be cool. I'm not cool, Molly. I've been a huge fan of your work and Pat's work for basically my entire adult life. Like, I wore
my
an
gosh.
outfit. This is actually Simone Rocha, this scar.
I knew it.
Oh my
I
goodness.
didn't see it very well.
Oh, I know. I'm like sitting in like a little, I'm like in a
It
little
was
schmata.
cool enough and pretty enough and weird enough to be her.
Yeah, it's like the.
What color is it?
This is it's like a baby ballerina slipper pink.
Naz has been talking about what she was going to wear for you all week.
No, I mean, the style, the mixing, just that you described, with the like nubby, fucked up sweater draped over this gorgeous dress that has this ridiculous structure to it, the sort of drapey unstructuredness over something that's so formed running across the street. I mean, this informed so many of our style, like the way that we felt more confident mixing. And so I love hearing you talk about it because I'm like, it's cool. I love that it's a vision that you had. I love that it's a vision that has become collaborative with each of the stars and how they would dress their character because they embody that character. That's so cool.
Yeah, I love that Sarah Jessica suggested the sweater to you, so it really truly was her understanding what her character.
Yeah.
Oh, she is toe-to-toe in a fitting, which really contributes to the success of any outfit. And most everybody is in a fitting. They want to say, hey, what about this? Because I try to create a really lovely fitting room. Naz, you could interior decorate a fitting room for me.
Oh my goodness. Anytime, anywhere.
I try to make it really
commission.
glamorous so when people come in, they know it's like a safe space.
Yeah, 100%.
And they can suggest something and not get shamed or
or feel like it's not their place or
we love opinions because it just makes the output, the product, always better.
So I'm really intrigued by the way, I want to hear more, not that we need this to be a first self-promotional thing, but I'm just curious about how you, as you're doing the scroll, like what catches your eye or how you're thinking about the things you're seeing and processing the imagery.
I love to scroll and look with a particular scene in mind, like crossing the street West Village, cobblestones, wet down, and the other girls are waiting for her inside a bar. So that, I think things leap off I'm not going to look at black. It just eliminates, I guess, is a better word for it, because I'm taking total direction from what I read.
Yeah, that's great. So it's from sort of narratively driven.
And when I saw that dress, I was like, who can wear that? I didn't look it up online to see what it looked like or how they styled it on the runway. I just became curious about it because Sarah Jessica is someone who can wear a notebook and make it seem like Holly Golightly, just really dance across the street. And I was like, what about the egg? Wonder if that is going to look fab on her. And plus the corset. So it came together.
No, it's fab. And it's interesting too. I've heard you talk a little bit in the past about how you also think about the progression from scene to scene. Like, was there anything about that specific, like march or, sort of like jog across the cobblestones in that particular? Because that like closed out the episode, right? Or am I
Did
mistaken?
it? I don't remember. I think it did. Yes, it did.
Like, is there
Yeah.
some way that you saw that and you're like, I know that that's going to be, something that ties us up, or you were just like, oh, it's just going to fit somewhere?
Yeah, I don't think I had anything that deep. I can make something up though.
That's okay. No, I love it.
I love the fact that you can say classic Carrie cobblestone crossing, 3 times fast. So,
Right.
So you got brownie points from me for having, and you've done those classic Carrie crossing cobblestone scenes countless times.
Ooh.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
That is like banana pudding from Magnolia Bakery. I mean, it's just a part of the DNA.
Yeah.
And that is, I have to, tip my hat to Patricia Field, who established those characters. We didn't do the pilot. This wonderful costume designer did, who went on to do The Sopranos. So she got the men at HBO and we got the women's show, and we were all in the same building. So, Pat really set up the highway, the lane that all of those ladies, all those actresses were going to drive in.
Right.
So, yeah, it's just habit at this point.
Oh, I think it's wonderful.
Did you have a sense though how important it would be as a definitive fashion moment for so many people?
I think Pat read the Candace Bushnell book. Darren Star gave it to her. And Pat was like, women have never talked about sex like this on, television or cable. Or she goes, this could be a huge phenomenon. And we felt like we were the coolest people downtown because, we had hung out at the Paradise Garage and we had done drugs with Jean-Michel Basquiat. And, we just thought we were the cat's meow. So this seemed a little, I have to say, tame to us from what we were used to being around. It was just interesting because it wasn't until, I want to say, season 3 that it really, really found its, pace, and people started falling all over themselves to loan us clothes, because in the beginning, well, we didn't even borrow clothes in the beginning, but when we started borrowing clothes and showrooms would ask, well, what's it for? And you would say a new show called Sex in the City, they would be, oh no.
Yeah. Like, that doesn't sound right. That doesn't sound high end.
And so we didn't have much luck. But then once it became this ritual on a Sunday night with watch parties, it was pretty much call in anything, anywhere and get it.
That's amazing.
Which is just thrilling, to be able to do that. Incredible. But times have changed. Oh, yeah.
In what way?
It's not like it used to be. Okay. And I hate to say that, but there is just so many samples in the world. And it's super, as important how many followers. Sometimes I get beat out for a look in Paris by some influencer. They're going to loan it to her. Do you know what I mean? She
Amazing.
has a huge eyeball reach, but no real history of anything to back that up, just
Right.
eyeballs.
Yeah.
And it's just fascinating how it's changed.
I mean, I find that crazy.
Yeah, wild. We used to go into showrooms in New York and actually make appointments at Dior and look at the clothes and ask for them. And, you know, there's people that I've been borrowing clothes from for years. I've never met them. Never met
Really?
them. Yeah, it's just so fascinating how distant it's gotten. And recently, I was told there was one show that happened last year in the spring. It was fall. It was in Paris, and I was texted. Someone texted me and said, "Just heads up. If you don't text me backstage after the show, you won't get your name on the look."
So interesting.
It's moving so fast.
Well, I went to, I was in Milan for Salone a few years ago, and there was a press event going on. It looked interesting, design brand, I won't name it. I walked in. I was on the way. We were hosting our own event. I was very sharply dressed, I must say, which is sort of a crazy thing to say with you two here. But you're like, yeah, I bet.
No, I do. Yeah.
But I was well put together, you know. And I went. There was a publicist at the door, and I said, "Oh, I'm really curious. It looks so interesting. Can I come in and see it?" And she looked. She was like, "I'm sorry, it's an event." And I said, "Well, I'm a journalist. I mean, I've been doing this for decades." I said, "I just want to peek in." She let me peek in. There were, 10 young women with, in little dresses, high heels with their iPhones taking pictures. I realized this was an influencer event. And I, as a, a veteran design journalist, was of no interest to them. So it's so interesting that you said, I mean, I think that's like a segue into like, how do you feel about fashion influencers now and how they're changing, even just the way people, how they can start trends, set trends. And
it's fascinating, isn't it? It's like, I don't want to stop anyone from doing anything since the United States is so much like that right now. The climate here is so confining, but it's interesting. It is just, what are your credentials?
Yeah, and the time, right? The turnaround time where they can put something out on the runway. And if an influencer is going to be seen and produce content wearing it, that might go live with brand approval within a week and a half. Whereas if it goes to a set, then you got to do all the post-production. That show might not come out until after the commercial release of that season. And back in the day, when you didn't have social media to sort of pre-launch seasons for you, like the houses, these fashion houses could conceivably say, well, Neiman's is getting their order delivered right around the time that episode is going to air. So this all tracks. Things are just moving so fast now, which is what's so wild about it. And I think that the response rate that the influencer universe, the content creator universe can hit, that's part of why it's working. It's wild. Like I can't do it. I don't want to edit myself, but
But it warps most people's perception. It's like you saw it, you consumed it, and you moved on.
Right. There's
It's
no
like that
endurance.
Dress is dead.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It's so crazy, but that's such a good point. Back in the old days when dinosaurs roamed the earth, we had a cushion because nobody was spying on us or whatever. Nobody, you didn't have the eyeballs that you do now. But you just were protected and you had a real safety net because you weren't under such scrutiny. And you're right, Nas. The episode would come out 3 months later, sometimes half a year. And, you're hoping that nobody's seen that Fendi bag yet, So, but you can't do that now. No way. It's just way too fast.
It's wild. I mean, I was feeling for you because just all of the street scenes for, Devil Wears Prada 2 immediately are on social media going viral. And it's great in some capacity that people are so excited about the project. They can't wait to see what Anne and Meryl are wearing. I mean, and I'm such a fan. I can't wait for the movie. It's exciting for me too, personally. But there were a lot of Reddit threads of us who are all fans and we can't wait for them. And we were like, I just need to not see any of it. I want to be surprised. I don't want to feel like I saw all the looks before the movie came out. Like, how is that for you? Yeah. Like, how is that for you when you think about, hopefully containing as much of the costumery until the release? Does that ever like come into your mind? Like, these are the things that we're doing out on the street that are fine for those to be seen, and these are the things that are being shot on a sound stage and no one's going to know. Like, does that ever come into play with how you organize the outfits?
I would say when I plot out a television episode or a project that I am very aware about that's going to be an exterior. And it's just a shame. Sometimes you can't move that outfit. It's going to go outside and you want to keep it a secret. And you don't want to spoil it. And, it's just too bad. You got to give that one up. But yeah, it is a consideration, at least for me. I'm very conscious of that.
Yeah.
And on that same level of wanting to keep hidden, there are so many things that are my favorite things that don't make it.
Boo.
Like there is always a dress or a hat that sits in a Carrie room from day one. It's in there the first day. We're all eyeballing it. She's eyeballing it. Where is that going to go? Where do we think we could ever get that in? And we keep waiting for the scene. And sometimes we go to a director or a writer and say, please write something for this. This is the fans will go nuts. This is kooks. It needs to be on TV. And we have it.
So kooks, is that good and bad kooks? Because I want to talk to you about that famous oversized bonnet that found its way onto Carrie's head on the last season of And Just Like That. Was that like, did you know, you had to know that audiences would lose their minds in both directions?
Nas, listen, I got 2 death threats over that, her wearing that hat.
I don't want to laugh at that, Molly.
Oh my God.
I mean,
Really?
like bad, like really mean, and I hope you die. That is the,
Jeez.
what we knew it, it's a great,
It's provocative.
hat, I don't know if you know this, it's called Head in the Clouds. When I'm interviewed about that hat, I often say, well, the alternative would be to put her in a baseball cap.
I was going to say, yeah, something casual. Yeah.
I think we've all seen a straw boater on Carrie. Like, no, we are hat people, always will be. That is a big, big triggering accessory for any of us on my team, even on any project. It's like, where's the hat that's gonna break the camel's back?
Break the internet, I guess, in that case. Wild. Well, for the record, I thought it was a great outfit.
Thank you for knowing about that hat, because it got me looking over my shoulder, checking under my car.
Wow.
It's actually why you're calling in for this podcast. You're
not safe in New York no more.
Touche, touche.
So I'm curious about, I love the whole narrative drive of what you do. So when you're on a series like Ugly Betty or whatever it is, at what point are you sort of brought in to help sort of think out or create the character through the wardrobe?
Most of the time, except for Sex and the City, we do the pilot, which is where you do the heavy lifting, because that is the first time anybody's going to get a look at the characters, and you don't know if it's going to get picked up, But nowadays, I don't think they shoot a pilot unless they've ordered 6 episodes. They just don't do that, because it's all run by accountants now. and not artists.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the pilot is your, starting gate.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just really, really fun. Well, like for example, Ugly Betty was a massive hit in Latin American countries and
Yeah.
Spain. And, it was huge in Spanish speaking countries.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of saw that template
Mm-hmm.
and just American, made it more New York or
It was
that was,
perfect.
oh my God, some of those scripts, some of the things they
So
would,
funny.
some of the dialogue was so funny.
An iconic show. I've been holding off rewatching it because I miss it so much and I want to preserve the feeling of the first time I watched it. But like America's outfits, so funny because they're so lovable and they were meant to make her look terrible. And that felt very inspired by Betty LaFaya, right? Like the original show.
Yeah.
But how did you think through, here's original content, right? Like this is the original version. How did you think about making her an American girl working in media, working in New York?
Well, she needed to be, of course, the fish out of water. I remember Pat, wanting to look at entertainment magazines from Latin America, South America, to have it translated to see what the fans were saying about this beloved show. But what really set us off on our, pursuit of the clothing was her braces and her eyeglasses.
Mm-hmm.
And as usual, you're standing in a fitting and you want to see an outfit with something on her face. So Pat had these cat eye red glasses on. Pat would always wear two glasses, one on her face and one on the top of her head. That was her signature. And she pulled the red pair off, and America put them on, and they were both looking in the mirror, going, "This is it. What are we gonna run around and get props to get 100 more pairs of glasses? This is it. We don't have time to look. This is gonna be it."
Amazing.
That's great.
And where did the braces come from? Were those in the original, or whose idea was it to
I
fix
want
her
to say
teeth?
they were in the original, but props, they pop them on and off.
Yeah.
To learn more about our guests, their objects, and First Dibs, a leading online marketplace connecting design lovers with sellers and makers from around the world, please head to the description for links.
I know that Sarah Jessica keeps like all of the archives, right? There's like warehouses of all of the old outfits and the clothes and the accessories. How do you go about deciding what becomes new again, right? Like what is the thing that Carrie loves so much that she has to wear it again and again? Like I'm thinking of, for example, the Patfield belt that y'all commercialized
Roger.
after. Yeah. And then the Extreme Gladiator heel from Dior, which I bought on Poshmark after the fact. Finally, I could finally get a pair.
What color did you get?
The black one. I had to get the
Okay,
classic.
good.
Yeah. But, and then of course I got them and they were so worn out that like the heel cap popped off the first night I had them on. I was like, oh, well, that's
Okay.
perfect. So I'm just going to
Perfect.
tiptoe my way across town now. But, I think it's, as a person who, has had most of my fashion journey as a personal shopper, is not a personal shopper for other people, but like as a person shopping for myself, you have limited means, right? You can only buy so many things in a season. And so having things that have longevity, even if they feel like statement pieces, is a very empowering thing to show people that you can get a really big moment and you can still wear it again.
Another big moment.
Yeah.
Another big moment.
Rather than I can
Right.
only wear it once because otherwise I've been seen in it. How do you think about that as far as, on shows or even just in real life? Like, what are the things that you're finding to resurrect and make new again?
Well, probably you do this too, probably when you're shopping. Like when I'm in a fitting room and I've been shopping and the assistants have all been out shopping and we're preparing for the actor to come into the room. There's nothing in that room that we don't love. So that's the first thing. You see I remember Pat seeing that Dior Extreme Gladiator at Woodbury Commons Outlet Mall. And she said, no, that's incorrect. She saw it at a department store in Manhattan. And she said, you know what? I haven't really seen this shoe. I think it slipped through the cracks with all the fashion people. And that excited her because it was on the sale rack, but no one had caught on to it. Maybe because it was kind of a heavy shoe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we found 2 other pair at Woodbury Common at the outlet store already. And we crystalled one for her wedding gown.
Okay, yeah.
She had a brown pair and she had a black pair. And, Pat just believed in it because her trained eye and refined eye had not seen that shoe. And she knew this just fell through the cracks. This shoe is a great shoe. So, and I feel like you could wake me up in the middle of the night and I would say to you, oh, I think that's a great place to put the Roger belt. Because I was there in the beginning and I also have a history with those beloved pieces, I can go into that storage space, which they actually filmed me doing in a documentary and just like that.
Oh, I watched it. It was great.
And I can figure out what I think the fans they would get. Oh God, I want to see that up close again. And that's fun. And how rare you're going to do that on Law and Order.
Right. I don't know. I mean, let's ask Mariska, but maybe the same
I don't know.
blazer.
A trench coat. Yeah, a trench coat's a trench coat. So it's just a rare unicorn of a show to be able to do that.
What are some of the pieces just in your career that you have just brought you so much pleasure that you were able to sort of put them out there in front of an audience?
I got one. The Pigeon Bag, the J.W. Anderson Pigeon Bag. I saw that and thought, who else but Carrie? But where? What scene? Luckily, the writers don't feel like something like that detracts from their dialogue. Sometimes you get that. Not on that particular show, but sometimes writers will come into the costume room and say, that hat is distracting from her words and we're going to kill it. And Pat and myself now always said, the audience is smarter than that. She can wear that and they can still hear what they're expressing. So it's always a big fight, dialogue versus accessory. And in that documentary, there was a big hat fight, Naz.
Yeah, right. Oh, right. I remember. Yeah.
There was a big hat fight in Paris. Yeah, big. Anyway, the Pigeon Bag, I was like, you know what? Let me bring it into the fitting room and let me look at Sarah Jessica's face when she comes in, because I don't think she's seen it either. And she came in and it was sitting there on a table like New York's mascot. And she was like, when and where?
That's amazing.
And I told her, ever since she carried that crystalled Eiffel Tower bag way back when, I had always been looking for an iconic bag to represent New York. And I didn't want it to be a tote with the Statue of Liberty on it. And it couldn't be. I thought about it for years. I would look at apples and I would be like, corny, and everything. And then
Chrysler
when that
building
pigeon
spires.
flew in front of my face, I was so excited. And I knew, luckily I was working with her as Carrie, because I wouldn't have wasted that on anybody else. And I couldn't wait to see what she did in the scene that she went into a resale shop with Kristen Davis, Charlotte. And I just watched. I did not leave set. I watched her pull a stick of gum when she opened the bird's wing and chew on gum. And I just, wow, knows how to work a prop like that.
So natural. Yeah.
That was so incredible. Just instinctual.
Yeah. No, she's so elegant with it because I've held the bag. It's not the easiest bag to make look effortless. There's a lot of because it's hard sided, so you gotta flip the hinge up, and then it's like this
Nothing
little hole.
fits in it.
Nothing, not a thing,
Nothing.
just the gum, maybe a cigarette or a lighter or something. That's about it.
Maybe.
Yeah.
At your lawyer's number. But I remember we had just shot that scene And then the director, one other day, we were down in Soho and he took some of us to lunch for something. We needed to have a meeting and we ended up, I don't know how, Balthazar. And there was a guy at the bar at Balthazar with a pigeon bag.
Wow.
Amazing. That's really
I
funny.
mean, we all howled. We thought that was such a great New York moment.
Meant to be.
Yeah.
Well, so on the topic of dialogue and props being in conversation, I think one of the most iconic scenes, probably in all of movie history in my lifetime, is going to be the Cerulean scene from the original Devil Wears Prada, right? And I'm assuming with that kind of a speech, do people, like everyone knows the Cerulean, right?
Can you deliver it
If-
here
oh.
and now? Word
I
for
would need
word?
to have practiced it. I did memorize it at some point. It mattered. It was like a very important scene to me. And I think about it all the time as a designer because we'll be sitting there debating two green chairs, you know, and they look so different.
Totally. It's totally in your world, like the belt and the
Yeah,
belt.
exactly. So, of course, the scene was, you know, derived of these turquoise belts and then the cerulean sweater and all of that. Like, how did that all go? Was that fairly easy for you to just pull all of that? How did that all come to life?
I'm really going to bust your bubble on this one.
Ah,
Okay, I'm going to tell you a little bit of the story because I really don't want to ruin movie magic for people, okay? Especially you, Nas.
I respect
I want
that.
you to be a happy person. As I recall, Pat was in Japan that day we shot. And as I recall, the director did not know she was missing.
oh,
Oh.
And I was called to set as they were rehearsing. She was already in character. Terrifying.
just fully embodying Miranda Priestley.
My opinion was being asked on these really important things. And somehow the prop department did not have the right kind of dress. There's a reference. Oh, I think this is very Christian Lacroix or something in the dialogue. And director, I believe, was disappointed. So I ran back to the wardrobe room and there was a dry rot crinoline on a rack. And I grabbed it. It was the only thing that looked like nothing. And it was a crinoline. It was not. That satin part of that
Yeah.
dress that has a flower on it is what you put at your waist.
Oh, wow.
Just crushed.
No, that's
Crushed
okay.
I know.
I've actually, I mean, it's fine. It's,
I know.
it's fine. I'm fine.
I'll send
I'm
you
okay.
guys some sleeping pills. You're gonna be up all night. Yeah, that
That's
was
so funny.
They call that in the business pulling something out of your butt.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. Dry rot. That would come out of my butt. I
That's
think.
wild.
Yeah.
I
And
get
what was even
triggered
doing there?
every time I see that scene because I remember my flop sweat and my panic.
Yeah. But I love it.
Because
that's-
we didn't shop an option. You know what I mean? That was something actors were touching in its props.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Well, you talked about Sarah Jessica's brilliance with interacting with the props. Tell us about Meryl Streep's. I don't know. Could you use the word brilliance in the same sentence as Meryl Streep?
There's no word to contain it. There's just no English word.
I'm going to say what I'm sure you imagine anyone would say. It is a honor and a privilege and a million girls would kill to watch that talent in her craft. To be in the same room, I have to pinch myself, the little girl from Whiteville, North Carolina, picking out something that needed to be Christian Lacroix. It's incredible to watch someone, it makes me think of all the sets that I wish I could have been on, like Mommy Dearest. Ah,
Oh, man.
Are there actresses that you particularly admire for their style sense, or that you just think would be great to dress?
well, I'm a huge fan of anybody that takes their own path like Bjork. You wore a
Yeah.
swan.
Oh, she changed the game. She
Yeah.
changed the game.
Yeah, take
Yeah.
your
And to
pigeon
this
bag.
day is still serving unbelievable looks that no one else could carry off. I love Zendaya.
She's incredible. Oh,
I
man.
mean, she is just, I just love where she is in her life. And she just seems like such a joyous person. And you can always, she'll always nail the look, the hair, everything. She carries it. It doesn't carry her. It seems so effortless. I just love, 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 love.
And how about in the vintage field? Who are you most excited about? What periods and what designers do you love most?
Yeah. What has your heart right now?
I really, really get excited when I see Mary McFadden pieces because I like to chop them and just use the bejeweled part and do something else with the beautiful colored fabric.
Huh.
What are you guys into?
On my end, I don't know. I go all over the place. So right now, my current
That's good.
shopping target is menswear. I love oversized actual menswear pieces for me. So I've loved everything that's come out of
Cool.
Fashion Week for men's, like Ralph Lauren Slade this latest season. I've never been more
Right.
excited for a Ralph Lauren collection. I love like what Rick Owens is up to in the menswear universe. Like that's kind of my energy. And what's great is it feels like I'm buying things half off because if I buy it in a size large or extra large, then my husband can also wear it. So it's kind of
wow.
his thing.
Yeah.
So I still like I'm wearing a thing
for-
that was supposed to be his actually, and I don't know how frequently it will be. But otherwise, yeah, like street style for me is the moment, right? Like I, as a designer of interiors, I feel the same way as I do about clothes, which is that I can't have limitless budget and limitless options. It's too much space to operate in. So if a client were to come to me and say, anything that you want, just do it. One, I'm like, well, now I'm not designing for you in particular, and that's not fun. It needs to have a boundary. There needs to be some kind of a rubric that I'm operating against, or it's not exciting. And so for me, I'm inspired all the time by youth fashion. I'm inspired by street style because so frequently the most interesting outfits are being worn, one, by people who have to walk to get somewhere. So you're not like in a private vehicle. You don't have a driver. Like I get to see you out because someone captured you on camera. And it's usually young people who don't have a ton of money. And the boundary of budget makes their clothes more interesting. So I don't think it's a bad thing that you found a dry, rotted out thing and then you made it part of a look. That's actually very cool. I think that's really inspiring. And maybe I can say that without that part so that if we have to cut it, we can cut it. But, you know, I think the street style of it all means that you're going to find, you know, secondhand, some magnificent, brilliant piece and pair it with the thing that you saved 6 months for and then you bought it on clearance at Saks or at Bergdorf and then you mix it with something that you've had in the closet for 100 years and you never thought you'd look at it again. That's my favorite kind of styling. It's the one that feels most personal and the most like adventurous.
And are you influenced by street style to this day? I know.
I would say that is where I get everything. I have to see people in New York. It spins me into a lane or an idea that it is so inspiring. And not just New York, but New York is, you know, the capital of it. It's like I often would talk to Pat about how in the 80s, going out at night in the nightclubs and seeing what was styled on the dance floor was our fashion magazine.
Yeah.
No doubt it made a huge impression on all of us. What we saw at Area, you know, whatever. It's just to this day when people ask me, and, you know, unfortunately, I don't go out and spin on a dance floor in Brooklyn anymore, but I feel like I get the same glimpses of things on Instagram. I hate to say it, but I just get to explore so much on that. But yeah, it's definitely, I'm with you, not it's definitely street. So inspiring. And
Isn't it
you know,
though?
it's been
Yeah.
DIY'd. So the budget,
Yes.
you know, it creates what it creates.
That's
out
right.
of sheer not having anything to work.
It's
I love that.
artistry, right? Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
because it's honestly, and I think about this all the time, and it was actually funny on a different episode, a different conversation. Something that came up between me and Tony was this presupposition that to have really good design interiors that get published or whatever, you need really big budgets, and so frequently that is the case, and it is a difficult part of the industry to swallow that. Nicer homes beget nicer photos, or nicer budgets beget better furniture or whatever. But it is tiresome. Like, I get tired sometimes when it comes to fashion, especially if you're head to toe in designer, you look like a fashion victim sometimes. Not always, not always. Sometimes people slay. But I just don't find it inspiring. I don't take notes, I guess I should say. I might love to see it. It's fun to look at, but I'm not taking notes. I'm not writing things down. I'm not taking screenshots. And Molly, I'm on Instagram too, like looking at, that's okay.
Yeah.
And it's opened my eyes to more of the Tokyo street style scene as well.
Yeah.
Because I've visited Japan, but I haven't been in a few years. And like getting to see what those kids are up to is really exciting. And I saw some young boy wearing gigantic trousers with an additional layer of a plaid pleated skirt over that. And I was like, I never thought about layering bottoms before. So that was the note that I took. I always just think about layering your tops,
And what inspired him to do that? Like, what did he see?
Exactly. Yeah, no, the kids are doing cool stuff right now. It's a very exciting time to observe young people for me. So I'm going to take that note because this is the first time that I haven't been the young person. You know what I mean? Like, I'm 39 and I get to see kids, like 20-year-olds, 25-year-olds, like doing things that when I was in my 20s, I was a corporate girly. I worked in offices. I was not very chic. I had reasonably nice shoes, but from the ankle to the neck.
Sensible.
I don't know about that. I got in trouble a lot for my shoes. But yeah, my vector in was shoes. Did you have a vector in? Like, was there a particular category of stuff that you were shopping for in costume?
Paper bag dresses.
I was trying to find a tribe. I was all over the place. I really was. I was buying a paper dress that someone had made and painted on, and then the next day I would be, and that's the thing about being in London at that age, and even now, they really go for uniforms. When they get a look together that they like, they are wearing, do you know what I mean? It's
double
so
down.
ingrained in them. I love it, love it, love it. I love Vivienne Westwood.
Oh, yeah.
I have a question. Okay, when I read a script and the writer has said, the woman enters the room and she's in head to toe Chanel, that I know that the writer just means that she's wealthy. Okay, that's just what a writer knows to write. But what is the equivalent in interiors? Is there a thing?
It signifies wealth
Is
and
there,
elegance.
round balls in a bowl on a coffee table? Okay, is there a thing, or does that not translate? Like, is there this thing that everybody's like, okay, I know what the client wants?
That's a good question. I mean, on the service providing side, there are a couple of iconic furniture pieces where if someone thinks that they know, like, they're like, I need my home to feel like I've arrived, or I like have the thing that I need. It's always the Eames lounge chair set with the ottoman. Like, that's a big signifier of like, if that's in the room, that person appreciates their home.
That sounds right.
Well,
That sounds
70s
totally.
and 80s leather sofas, sort of
But I feel like,
structured.
I do feel though that the sofa thing that migrates around. At least in my, there's like the serpentine sofa from I don't know if it's Deceit or Decede.
Deceit is what I say.
Okay.
But we're gonna check it out on Youglish.
On Youglish, this is a website.
The new sponsor of
Yeah.
the First News podcast.
Cool.
I think
Not yet.
First Dibs is the sponsor of the First Dibs podcast, right?
Do you have one though? I mean, because on the editorial side, where you're like that.
Well, we actually do track trends,
Yeah.
but I would say outside of trends, I would say the equivalent of a Chanel suit is probably like a beautiful Art Deco sofa or case piece of some sort. Both kind of classic, beautifully made, and elegant, but modern still in a kind of old world way.
Right, right. That's well said. Well said.
We can't let you leave without you telling us about your backdrop, your wallpaper, and the
Yes.
2 paintings. So, in a minute, what are you sitting in front of? It's wonderful.
My building in Miami Beach was built in 1959. It has an open air lobby. I adore it. It has just flipped into like crypto world where I can almost not afford to live here. There's so many rich people that have come after COVID. It's full of New Yorkers now. The old ladies are gone. And it's such a jewel and I still love it, I think. This is a curved wall and it took me 7 years to pick that wallpaper because every time I chose one, I saw one that I liked better. So I never did it. And finally, I went to one of my good gays and said, please, here's a check. Go buy something. I can't take it.
Yeah, I can't think of it. Yeah. Commitment, fear of commitment.
I don't know anything about these, but I was in North Carolina last year and they were in a furniture consignment shop and they were $100 for the 2 of them. And I love the frames.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The frame is bamboo and red, and I don't know a thing about them.
That's
wonderful.
awesome.
I love
honestly.
their clothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for. Yeah, I know we would get a 1,000 emails asking us about your backdrop, so thank you for sharing. The title of the podcast is Objects of Desire. So I want to ask you, why do you think people desire things, objects, and how does it enhance their lives?
It's something really deep and primal, and they are lonely, desperate, unhappy people, and they think that that ceramic parrot that's $600 at the end of this table is going to change their day. Or it could be something much lighter than that.
Because you are not lonely, pathetic, or any of those
I don't know. I
adjectives.
think there's
Well,
something about clothing, a piece of furniture, an artwork that you find by some whatever. It just brings such a tingly situation. Like it's a treasure. I'm going to own it. And my sisters and family will have to deal with it when I'm gone and dead. And they're not going to know what to do with the $600 ceramic parrot.
I love it. It's such a tingly situation.
Yeah.
That is, I think you've just encapsulated in 2 perfect words.
Yeah.
We love things because we crave tingly situations.
Yes. We got to find our joy somewhere.
Yes.
Molly, I can't tell you how grateful we are that you joined us from sunny, warm Miami while we're freezing up here in New York City, but we won't hold that against you. You've warmed the room with your presence here on the screen.
It's amazing. Thank you so much.
I hope I entertained a bit, but it was my pleasure. I just want to say the reason why I knew about First Dibs a long, long time ago is I heard Andre Leon Talley talking about it. That's how I found this wonderful, special website, and it's just an honor to get to talk to both of you.
Oh, shucks.